In the late 1800s, on the quiet border between Austria and Germany, a child was born, an ordinary infant in an ordinary town, and yet, the world would one day remember his name with a chill. Adolf Hitler entered life in 1889, unaware that the road ahead would twist into one of the darkest paths history has ever witnessed. As a boy, he grew up in a home where warmth was scarce and arguments were plenty. His father, a strict and demanding man, pushed him toward a future he did not want, while young Adolf clung desperately to a dream filled with color, the dream of becoming an artist. He sketched endlessly, imagining a life shaped by creativity rather than fear, but each step he took was met with resistance. The world around him seemed determined to silence his passion. When both of his parents died, he left home and traveled to Vienna, hoping the Academy of Fine Arts would welcome him. Instead, it rejected him twice. Those rejections carved deep scars inside him. Now homeless, penniless, and alone, he wandered streets that grew colder and less forgiving each day. Nights spent in crowded shelters, days spent in hopeless searching, and slowly, bitterness began to take root within him. The disappointment, the humiliation, the growing sense of being wronged by life, all of it swirled inside him, forming the early shadows of a belief system that was as dangerous as it was destructive. And then came the First World War. When the conflict erupted, Hitler seized the chance to redefine himself. He joined the German army with eagerness, believing he finally belonged somewhere. The trenches were brutal, the battles relentless, but for him, it was a place where he felt purpose until Germany fell. The defeat shattered him. He saw it not as a military loss, but as a national betrayal, a humiliation that demanded vengeance. This belief would become a cornerstone of his future. After the war, Germany was broken, economically devastated, angry, starving, desperate. People wanted answers, someone to blame, someone to follow. And in the midst of chaos, Hitler discovered his most dangerous weapon, his voice. He wasn't an artist, nor a scholar, nor a hero. But when he stood before a crowd, words poured out with a strange intensity. His speeches stoked fear and fueled anger. He offered simple explanations for complex problems, and in their desperation, many listened. From a small political group, he rose quickly, transforming it into the Nazi Party. Crowds multiplied, cheers grew louder, and his promises, though extreme, sounded like salvation to people drowning in despair. In 1933, he became Chancellor of Germany. And with chilling precision, he dismantled Germany's democracy piece by piece, replacing it with an iron dictatorship. Propaganda flooded every home, every street, every broadcast, shaping minds, bending truths, silencing questions. Behind the polished speeches, behind the rallies and parades, a far more sinister plan was unfolding. In 1939, Hitler made his move. The invasion of Poland triggered the beginning of World War II. Within months, Europe was engulfed in flames. Cities crumbled, soldiers marched endlessly, and millions of innocent people found themselves trapped in a war they did not choose. Yet even the devastation of global conflict could not overshadow the darkest crime committed under Hitler's rule, the Holocaust. Millions of Jews and countless others who were labeled as undesirable were hunted, imprisoned, and murdered in systematic, industrialized killing. The cruelty was unimaginable, yet horrifyingly real, but war has a way of turning. By 1945, Hitler's empire was collapsing. Allied forces drew closer to Berlin, bombing the city into rubble. The man who once commanded millions now hid underground in a cold concrete bunker, surrounded by defeat. His plans had failed, his empire crumbled, and the world was closing in. On April 30th, 1945, unable to face the consequences of what he had done, Hitler took his own life. And just like that, the life that had brought so much destruction ended in silence. When the dust settled, more than 60 million people were dead. Cities were ashes, families were gone, and the world bore scars that would never fully fade. Hitler did not shape history through greatness, but through devastation. His story remains one of the clearest warnings humanity has ever received, the warning that hatred, fear, and unchecked power can grow quietly, slowly, almost invisibly. Until one day, they explode. This is not just a story of a man. It is a story of how a society, step by step, can slip into darkness without realizing it. A reminder that the past is never as far away as it seems, and that remembering it is the only way to keep it from happening again.